Lando Norris has given his McLaren team a challenge as they try to improve on what they did in 2022. Norris had a great season in 2022. He finished third at Imola, which was the only podium for a team rather than Red Bull, Ferrari, or Mercedes, and went on to finish a strong seventh in the drivers' standings. The Briton has a long-term contract with McLaren that runs out at the end of 2025. In 2023, he will take over as team leader at Woking, where rookie Oscar Piastri will join him. Lando Norris issues challenge for McLaren bosses as Red Bull urged to swoop to sign him. Norris came in seventh in the drivers' standings, and he was the only driver who wasn't from Red Bull, Ferrari, or Mercedes to finish on the podium at Imola. He came in third. The Brit is going to race in F1 for the fifth time in 2023. He's happy with the way the team is going after finishing fifth in the constructors' standings last time. But Norris has told his team that they need to be better next season. The 23-year-old said, "Everyone's smiling now because we've had a good season for sure. The mechanics and engineers have all done a good job. I think we've pretty much made the most of every chance we've had. The mechanics did a great job this year, which was the hardest year for pit stops because the tires were heavier and the guns were worse. We had the fastest pit stop and several other fast stops on race weekends. We're on the right track and doing better than ever in a lot of ways. You only need to show that one thing for all of that to be worth it. It's the only thing we're missing right now." Over the last few years, the driver has shown how talented he is, and now F1 expert Karen Chandhook wants Red Bull to hire him. Christian Horner and his team already have a contract with Max Verstappen that lasts until 2028. Sergio Perez's seat on the team is also set until 2024, but as the moves during the offseason showed, anything can happen in F1. During Sky Sports' F1 season review, the former F1 driver said, "I think Red Bull should try very hard to buy Lando Norris." Next, Zach Brown says Lando Norris deserves more credit. When Daniel Ricciardo left Formula One, it broke the hearts of some race fans. The Australian had a hard time on the English racing team McLaren, not only because the equipment was bad, but also because his teammate Lando Norris just did better. The CEO of McLaren, Zach Brown, spoke highly of the young Norris. Brown thinks that Norris keeps getting better. He tells motorsportweek.com he puts together some great qualifying laps, and I don't think he gets enough credit for that. Lando makes very few mistakes. He rarely makes a big mistake. If I compare where he started to where he is now, I can see that he is very confident but not arrogant, says the American. Obviously, the quality of the equipment and the atmosphere of the team also have a big effect on how well the driver does, but Brown really likes how Norris can deal with all these things. He fits right in with the team and the race car. He puts together amazing qualifying laps, and his racecraft has gotten a lot better from the first season to now. Next season, the English driver will have a new teammate who is also from Australia. Brown says that rookie Oscar Piastri is a sensational racing driver, and because of that, everyone has to start paying attention, even Norris. If you look at Oscar's career so far, he's won a lot of championships in his first year, which is always a sign that a driver is special. Despite everything, McLaren makes two-year comment that may worry Lando Norris amid uncertain future. Lando Norris has been told that McLaren might not be competitive for another 2 years. This comes as the pressure on the Briton to leave the team grows. Zach Brown, the boss of McLaren, has said that the gap between all the teams won't close until 2024 or 2025. This is because new rules were put in place before last season. Brown said that McLaren's new infrastructure, which won't be ready until 2024, could also be important as they try to catch up to Red Bull, Ferrari, and Mercedes at the front of the field. Brown told the official McLaren website, "I think it'll be another 2 years, I think. Even though we all have about the same amount of money now, some teams have better facilities. We are still waiting for our wind tunnel, which is down the road and will be done soon, and new simulation equipment." So from the point of view of annual spending, most teams are pretty much on the same level. However, a few teams have come in with better technology infrastructure, which we and some other teams are catching up on. So I think that will need to happen. And then whenever a new set of rules comes out the way it did, some people get it right and some people get it wrong. Then everyone sees who did it right and they tend to copy what they've seen, which is usually what works from an aerodynamic point of view. Norris signed a new deal to stay with McLaren until the end of 2020. 2025. But there's a lot of talk about what will happen after that. Norris made a big splash earlier this season when he said the team had no excuses if they weren't competing by 2024. In related news, change at Ferrari hastened Andrea Seidel's McLaren exit. Andrea Stella was put in charge of McLaren's Formula One team after Andrea Seidel moved to Sauber to replace Frederic Vasseur, who was leaving for Ferrari. In 2026, Sauber will take over the Alfa Romeo team, which will then become the factory Audi team. After Mattia Benatti quit as Ferrari's team principal in November, there was a lot of management turnover after the season was over. Stella worked for 15 years at Ferrari under bosses Jean Todt and Stefano Domenicali, with world champions Michael Schumacher, Kimi Räikkönen, and Fernando Alonso. In 2019, she joined McLaren at the same time as Seidel. The Italian was promoted from his job as an executive director at McLaren. Chief executive Zak Brown said that Stella was the first choice after Seidel told the team earlier in the year that he would not be renewing his contract. Seidel was the head of track operations at Sauber and the principal of Porsche's World Endurance team, which won the Le Mans 24 Hours 3 times between 2015 and 2017. Both Porsche and Audi are brands that are owned by Volkswagen. Brown said that McLaren would have kept Seidel until the end of his contract, but when it became clear that Vasseur was going to Ferrari, things changed. Brown said that because Seidel was close to the team, he didn't need gardening leave, which is a break between jobs to stop sensitive information from getting out. Stella said that his style would be hands-on, with Brown stepping in more when help was needed but focusing on business and sponsors the rest of the time. He didn't think there would be much change, saying that the team would go from 850 to 849 people instead of the top leaders going from 3 to 2. Next up, Formula One drivers banned from making political statements. Formula One drivers won't be able to talk about politics at races without getting permission from the FIA first. The governing body of motor racing has added a new article to the International Sporting Code that says it is against the rules to make or show political, religious, or personal statements or comments that go against the FIA's general principle of neutrality unless permission is given first. In recent years, drivers have used the time before and after races to say something. Lewis Hamilton has often worn t-shirts with political slogans or messages since the 2020 season began. He wore a t-shirt that said, "Arrest the cops who killed Breonna Taylor" on the front and say her name on the back after he won the 2020 Tuscan Grand Prix. The FIA changed its rules about what drivers can wear after the race because Hamilton wore a shirt on the podium. Now drivers can only wear race shirts that go up to the neck during this time. Sebastian Vettel got in trouble for wearing a shirt with the colors of pride and the words "Same Love" before the Hungarian Grand Prix last year. He and Hamilton also have worn t-shirts and helmets with the pride flag on them at races in the Middle East. Vettel also wore a lot of t-shirts that raised awareness about environmental issues. He wore a t-shirt with the words "Stop Mining Tar Sands, Canada's Climate Crime" to the Canadian Grand Prix. The ISC has been updated in alignment with the political neutrality of sport as a universal fundamental ethical principle of the Olympic movement enshrined in the International Olympic Committee (IOC) Code of Ethics, together with the principle of the universality set out in Article 1.2, the FIA said in a statement. Mick Schumacher named Mercedes reserve after Ferrari-Haas split. Michael Schumacher's son, Mick Schumacher, was looking for his next big move in Formula One after being let go by Haas this year after 2 disappointing seasons. Shortly after Ferrari said the 23-year-old would be leaving, Mercedes made it official that he would be a reserve driver for the 2023 season. Schumacher will run simulators at Mercedes' Brackley factory and attend races as a possible replacement for Lewis Hamilton or George Russell if they can't race at certain races. He will also be available to Williams and Aston Martin, which are Mercedes' partner teams. It also means Schumacher still has a chance to stay in F1. Nick de Vries, who used to be a backup driver for Mercedes, will drive full-time for AlphaTauri in 2023 because of how well he did for Williams at the Italian Grand Prix in September. The role keeps Michael Schumacher's ties to Mercedes, which helped him get started in his career. He also raced for Mercedes from 2010 to 2012, the first 3 years after the team came back to F1. In 2019, a year after winning the Formula 3 championship, Mick joined the Ferrari driver program. In 2020, he won the Formula 2 championship, which got him a spot with Haas in F1 in 2021. In his first year, Schumacher had trouble with a car that couldn't compete, but in 2022, his more experienced teammate, Kevin Magnussen, often did better than him. He only got points at 2 races. Nico Hülkenberg took his place at Haas for 2022. Well, unfortunately, guys, that is all the time we have for today. Make sure to like and subscribe to our channel, and we'll see you next time.